What's up, guys? I want to teach you how to write catchy melodies. In FL Studio, when you have your synth open, you can right-click and open up the piano roll. Once you're in the piano roll, you can click on this small little arrow and find this thing that's called Note Grid Highlights. Once you've done that, you can go to the menu below it called Scale Highlighting, and you can choose the root note of what scale you want to write in. And you can also choose from these options of scales that they have. And I'm just going to select Minor Natural. So all the notes that are of a lighter color will be the notes in your scale. In this case, it's going to be E minor because I selected that key. Now, without diving deep into music theory, I'm going to give you a basic structure you can somewhat follow in writing chord progressions and melodies. Something I like to do is build the foundation first, which I would consider to be the bass line. It's very common to start a chord progression with the root note of the scale or the one chord, which would be whichever the first note in the scale is. In this case, it's E minor, so it's going to be E. I'm going to start this melody with the note E. Off of each note in the scale, you can build a triad chord. So that's every triad chord in the scale except for the F sharp diminished. So this is an interesting chord that we're going to try to stay away from unless you know how to use it. If I were to describe this chord, it would be sort of a passing chord. It's mainly good in context of other chords in certain situations. So if I were to just play this chord by itself, it's not going to sound very good. It's going to sound kind of unresolved. You can resolve this chord by, bringing it back to the E minor. So in this context, it'll sound a little bit better once you hear the E minor chord after. See, I consider it a passing chord. You don't want to sit on this chord for a while because it feels like it wants to be pulled somewhere else. So that's every triad chord in the scale except for the F sharp diminished. If you want to know how to build these triad chords and how to know which one is the correct chord, the formula is going to be skip one and skip one, right? So see how I skipped this light note? We're going to just pretend these darker squares don't exist. Like, the F note, the G sharp note, the A sharp note. Skip one and skip one. So watch. We skipped one, and we skipped one. Skip one, and skip one. So, and the way to tell the difference between a minor and major chord is by counting the distance in between this middle note. Now, this middle note right here is called a third. So this will be the first, this will be the third, and this will be the fifth. And the reason it's numbered like that is because it's going based off counting the intervals in the scale up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And to turn this into a major chord, you just move the middle note up. So now it's a major chord. So it's more of a happy chord. Now it's a sad chord. But I'll start by building a bass line. I'm going to stay away from this F sharp note because I want it to be all major or minor triads. So this is a nice little bass line melody I can build right here. I'm going to add this minor third right here above it. This will be a major third. I'm going to just skip that one light note, skip the one light note, skip the one light note, skip the one light note. Boom. Something I also like to do is hold Control and Shift to select them individually. Hold Control and up on the arrow key, and that'll put them an octave higher. So they're going to be playing the same note, but just at a higher frequency. So now we have thirds placed on top of every single root note in this bass line. Part of my writing style is to sort of build the melody around the fifth of each chord. It's going to be the top of the triad chord, right? So. And this is where I can kind of, you know, play around and add other notes. Doesn't matter what notes, just do whichever ones you think sound good. Just click around and play, make sure they're all in the scale. And see how this D right here is the third to this root note. So once I've built a nice, neat little melody, I'm going to just, you know, remove some notes from it. Just because sometimes less is more. You don't always have to do this, but sometimes less is more. So basic fundamentals, make a simple bass line, maybe add some thirds and fifths above it, add some top line melody such as this, or counter melody, whichever one you want to call it. I'm going to duplicate it over again, and just to give it some more variation, I'll add some even higher notes the second time it kind of comes around. I'm just going to play around with presets until I find something I like more. Another thing you can do is I'm going to clone this VST, open up another instance of Poison, copy this melody over by highlighting this little square, by clicking on it, Control C, Control V on the other square, bring it to another channel. Maybe I'll pick a pad. I can just add some reverb to fill out the mix a little more. Now, if you pay attention up here at the top, you can see that the high frequencies still have space. They're empty. They're not occupied by something. So I can choose to maybe put a vocal or, you know, even more instruments on top of this to kind of fill out the mix. So I might just open up FL Studio Flex and pick a piano and just write some stuff up here. I can choose to maybe copy this melody. Like that's sick and might fit in. That's sweet. And don't be shy to experiment with effects such as delays, compression, reverb, any, VSTs that you might happen to have, like filters. You can make a lot of cool stuff just by experimenting with whatever you have. So like, I like putting delay on piano. It's kind of part of my personal taste. So like just this melody. And now lastly, I'm going to EQ the low frequencies out of this Poison stuff I did earlier and add some bass to it. So I can just use Poison again, since may as well. I mean, I'm already this deep into Poison. May as well just, a lot of my sound does come from Poison, just so you guys know. This is a really simple bass patch. But sometimes less is more, Simple can go a long way. So I can go ahead and just copy that little root note melody. And for low bass notes, don't be afraid to, put them an octave higher if they're too deep. But what I've found generally, C sharp, maybe, very rarely you can get away with B. A sharp, that's too low. But C for sub is like as deep as you really want to take it. Because, I mean, you're not even going to hear it on a cell phone at that point. But, like D, that's where it gets really deep and heavy. But like, if you want to get melodical, I would say sit around, the G, E, F range. These notes for sub frequencies can be heard more easily on more sound systems because they're not as deep. But take what I say with a semi bit of a grain of salt, because it's music. There's no rules. These are just general guidelines that I have found for myself. I'm not professionally taught at all. I am completely self-taught. I'm just teaching you guys what I've learned through my own experimentation and time spent producing. Another thing in FL Studio, at the bottom here, you can play with the velocities, which is like how hard like you'd be hitting the key with your finger. So like low velocity, it's gonna be all soft. High velocity, it's gonna be hard. As you can see, I have the piano and the pad both routed to this mixer track. So I put OTT and it's affecting both of them since they're both routed through this track or insert. But now I can play with some more like filters and stuff from here that'll affect both of them, which will be nice. See, now now that I have the melody written, I can just mess around and start sound designing and doing my nerd stuff and experimenting, because you never know, you might just make a banger. Another cool shortcut that you can learn, Shift D will turn your notes into tiny notes. Something as simple as changing the key can completely change the entire vibe of the song. So one at a time on each of these little note sequences I have, I'll just change the key by the same amount. So I'll hold shift and up on the arrow key, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to transpose it by 4 semitones, right? So now I go in each one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's a different key. It's going to be a little bit higher pitched. Now that sounds really cool in my opinion. Now for some type of variation or progression towards bringing your idea into a song, this is when you start arranging and adding and removing elements of what you have to create change or tension or space in your song for a breath of air, or maybe clear up the mix to add some vocals and, you know, another section, you know, transitioning, moving what you have going forward. So what you can do on your pattern, you can click up here and you can make it unique. So now I have 2 different patterns, but they're both the same. But I can go into the second pattern I have here and maybe remove this, turn this an octave down, and now we have something completely different, but it's still the same. You know what I mean? But this is where I could start adding a little bit of a rhythm to it. You like add some kicks, turn it into that kick clap type of future rhythm, whatever you guys want to call it. I'm just going to sidechain. I've showed you guys how to do this before in my other videos, like how to make future rhythm. I would say the most important piece of advice I could give you would be make sure that you're having fun. As a beginner, you can't expect to make masterpieces every time. You need to fall in love with the process of learning. Go on YouTube and keep watching videos like this one. The advice that I'm giving you may not be perfect, and you have the choice to listen to it or not listen to it. You can find other videos that can cover similar topics, but might say slightly different things about what you should do. This is getting serious. I needed to expand my camera. You're not going to be a master on your first day. It's learning a new skill. Think of it like riding a bike. You're going to fall down when you first start learning how to ride a bike. But what matters is how many times are you going to get back up and try again. Keep making stuff. Keep making stuff. Keep making stuff. You know, maybe get yourself a MIDI keyboard, start learning piano. Then melodies will start to become more intuitive. Maybe get yourself a guitar. For me, I was able to learn musical scales through guitar. I wanted to learn how to do guitar solos, so I learned the minor pentatonic scale on guitar. Shortly after that, I decided to learn how to play piano. And it translated very easily because I had already been making FL Studio beats. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is have fun. The only way you're going to come back and keep trying is if you're having fun. Because if you don't find any fun in trying to figure out how to make music, what's going to make you want to keep doing it? If it's not intriguing, if it's not interesting, there's tons of mystery behind it, and stuff that I'm still working towards figuring out. I'm not a master. I'm just some computer nerd, and I really like music, so I dove into the mystery of music. Rules can be broken. It is art. And nobody can tell you what you do in your art. It is your art. You are your own person. I'm just hopefully showing you a few guidelines that I go by when I create my art, because I've been fortunate enough to build up a small fan base of people that appreciate the music I make. I just want to say thank you for watching. And a like and a comment would be very much appreciated. I've been loving the positive feedback I've received from the last video. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.